In the early 1960s, the Soviet Union began mass producing simple gas mask kits like this one for use by civilians in case of a nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on the motherland. The only problem with these kits is that, like other civil defense equipment, they went to target cities first, which meant any area with a large transportation hub, large industrial presence, or large population. Now, that's all fine and good for chemical and biological attacks, but the only issue is even more isolated areas are at risk of fallout if one of the bigger cities are hit. My name is Tyler, and today we'll be talking about the Soviet solution to this gap in civilian protection. The reason most gas masks are useful in a nuclear attack is because their filters contain two main layers. The first layer being the one most useful for nuclear fallout. Those layers are the particulate layer toward the bottom of the filter, which is usually made of some type of pleated paper or other material good at catching dust. And at the top of the filter, the layer that we're not as concerned with for a nuclear attack is the charcoal layer. That's the layer that's going to catch chemical and biological warfare agents and effectively neutralize them before they can enter the body. But this information being said, we can look at this and say we don't really need a gas mask in a nuclear attack. What we need is something to catch dust and keep it from entering our body. And if we're in a more isolated area of the Soviet Union, that means we might have to make that protection on our own. Even though we live in some remote village deep within the Soviet Union, thankfully the government hasn't completely left us in the dark when it comes to producing our own fallout protective equipment at home. Through short instructional demonstrations and civil defense posters, we've learned how to produce these, the PTM-1 anti-dust cloth mask, for materials that we have readily available at home. The cool thing about these masks is there's technically infinite different variations possible because of the local fabric being used to produce them. Now, across those infinite variations, there were only 7 different size patterns that were produced. And across those 7 different size patterns, you had the masks fitting everyone, through children, all the way up to babushka. That meant everyone in these villages would be protected from radioactive fallout should the need arise for these masks. The interesting thing to take a look at here as well is that there's a few different variations in how these masks can be produced lens-wise. Now, the first one I have here is the largest size that I own, and the lenses are glass pieces sewn permanently into the mask. The second one I have here is simple cellophane, very thin cellophane. I'm honestly not sure how it survived this long, and they're also permanently sewn into the mask. The third one, interestingly, has no lenses, and that's because this mask was set up to use gas mask lens inserts as its lenses. And the advantageous thing for this is that after you use this mask, you can simply take the lenses out and wash the mask and reuse it much more easily and without damage than these. Taking a closer look at the masks, you can honestly see more production differences and a difference in the overall quality of each of the pieces. So the first one, the largest one I have again, that one I think is one of the most well-made ones I have. This one, you can see the glass lenses in there. There's a little bit of felt in there to protect them. Up top, you have a nice large piece of elastic, and then another piece of elastic on the hood. And then at the bottom, you have a piece of almost like shoelace for the drawstring around the neck. The second one, I think the lowest quality one I have, is the black one with the cellophane lenses. Again, they're very thin, very fragile. That one also has a very fragile elastic for the head. This elastic's okay, a little bit better, but still not nearly as stretchy as the green one. And then at the bottom, the drawstring on the neck is very cheap material. I'm not even sure what this is, but it's very cheap and very, very thin. That's why I put this one on a very small mannequin head. It's very fragile. The third one then is the one with the removable lenses. That one's a pretty good balance between quality and effectiveness, but the only thing I've noticed on this one that's different between the other two is that it's missing the one head strap on there, and it only has the elastic in the hood here. On the bottom, it still has the same neck strap and the lenses with it. I never opened the lenses for this one. The lens I showed with it, that actually comes from a different mask in my collection, but basically it's the same material, just a little bit bigger. These are very strong though. They're just anti-fog inserts for a regular gas mask. Another thing that's interesting is this mask. And I didn't show this one before because it's not Soviet. This one's actually from the Czech Republic. This is the Czech OR1. Concept-wise, it's the same as the Soviet PTM-1. The only difference is this one was made industrially rather than locally. So this one came packaged in this bag and would probably be stocked in fallout shelters very similarly to the PTM-1, but is made much more professionally than the locally produced PTM-1s. But you can see on all of them, they're all simply just a fabric bag that you would put on your face, and the material looks very similar both inside and out on all of them. And then you could see the variations with the thickness of the masks themselves. This one feeling more like a very thin blanket, this one feeling much more like a quilt and probably affording much better protection than these other ones comparatively. Aside from the Czech Republic, many other countries took interest in designs like the PTM-1, some of these countries being Poland, Yugoslavia, and even the United States. In the United States, this design was simply referred to as an improvised Russian-style nuclear fallout mask, and it was featured in the handbook Nuclear War Survival Skills. In this handbook, interestingly, you can build these masks using simple old rags and elastic taken from a pair of underwear. Now that doesn't sound too comfortable to me, but I guess, you know, if you have to, you do what you got to do. Anyway, I'd like to try on one of these masks right now and see how it goes. I've never tried one of these on before, despite having them for a long time, but I'm interested to see how comfortable it is. This one especially because it's, like I said, it's almost like a quilt material. It's very, very soft. I just think it's going to be hard to breathe. Let's see if I can't do this without ruining the elastic on it. This one's pretty good though. I don't think I'll have a problem. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to tie it on the back of the head just for time's sake, but the mask seals pretty well, which is honestly pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting that. It's not terrible to breathe, but it's not easy either. I couldn't imagine wearing this thing for a very long time. It's not terribly uncomfortable. It's just, it's very hot and a little claustrophobic. Honestly, other than wearing this for fallout protection, I could see people taking an interest in a mask like this for, you know, shoveling your driveway during the winter or going somewhere in the cold. If the lenses wouldn't fog up like they are now, it'd be much better though. Anyway, feel free to let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. Like, subscribe, and check out the link in the description if you'd like to build a mask like this out of your old underwear. Thank you for watching.